Hey, what's going on, man? It's Dennis Haley. I am the author of the playbook, The Art of Dreaming. Um, just want to say a special thank you to Kelly Cole and the Publishing Advantage Group team. Man, they were with me from day one until the time I finished, and still with me to this day. What a blessing to have them be with me and to walk me through this journey and to be a part of this journey. They have been nothing but class acts, and they know what they're talking about. And just again, it is a blessing to be a part of this team and for them to guide me down the path to success. So thank you for everything that you have done. I look forward to many more projects with you guys and continue to be a blessing to many. Thank you.
Welcome to the Books for Athletes podcast with your host, the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole. Mr. Cole, a former athlete and best-selling author himself, has set out to take you behind the scenes of some of sports' forgotten heroes. He sits down with former professional athletes, college athletes, and sports coaches as they share stories of triumph, defeat, dedication, and perseverance. Here's Kelly.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Books for Athletes podcast. Today, I got a special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, but very, very, very special guest. I'm excited to talk to him about his new book, his mission, his purpose, and all of the above. How you doing, Coach? Tell the people a little bit about who you are. Introduce yourself.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Kelly. My name is Tony Vlahovic. And I just finished my book called Just Need an Opportunity, Let's Play Ball. My background is I'm a former professional baseball player, and I got involved with working with people with disabilities actually throughout my entire life. And that's really what the book is about. And I find in my life that working with people with disabilities, athletes and non-athletes, has dramatically changed my life. And working with you and Dr. Oliver Reed, putting a book together has really pulled that mission in my life together. So that's a little bit about who I am.
That's awesome. So where are you originally from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Lehigh Valley, which is outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I was born and raised there. Went to high school at a place called Whitehall High School. And then ended up, I went to a smaller college, a place called Wilkes University. I was supposed to go to a larger university, but was injured my senior year and ended up at a smaller university where I actually had the opportunity to play football and baseball, football for 3 years and baseball for 4. And then my career took me to Italy for a year, which was the first time I was ever overseas. And Kelly, I thought I was a smart 21-year-old and didn't need a dictionary. Well, guess what? I learned the hard way. I actually learned Italian by watching American shows while I was living in Italy. Wow. From I Love Lucy to some of the other detective stories, you name it. That's how I learned Italian.
Wow. All right, you gave us a lot in there. Let's unpack some of that. When did you start playing baseball? Let's start there.
I actually started when I was 5 years old, and I started playing. I grew up in a small town called Hackendakwa, and the town had a lot of pride in its youth sports. And I started out actually, I'm left-handed. I started out as a left-handed catcher. Okay. And the reason I wanted to catch was I was in the action in every play. And I didn't want to play in the outfield because I would have been bored. Mm-hmm. So the problem I ran into is I started to throw the ball harder back to the pitcher than they were throwing to me. And my dad was not a coach, but he would help out with the fields and finally pulled me aside and said, "Hey, why don't you try to pitch?" And I really don't want to do that. I'd rather catch because I like to get dirty. I like be in every play. So he finally talked me into it, and that pretty much changed my life. I started out Little League and progressed all the way through up until high school.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you got hurt your senior year. Tell me about that. How did you get hurt and what type of injury was it?
I actually it was a freak injury. We were practicing. I played football, basketball, and baseball in high school, and
Wow.
it was preseason for football, and we were just working out, and I slipped and fell on my shoulder, my left shoulder, and it just didn't feel right. And in that part of Pennsylvania, you can say it was old school. Like the
Mhm.
coaches were pretty intense, and they would challenge your manhood. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Uh, so if you were hurt, I mean, you really couldn't say anything, and I really couldn't throw right. Every time I would throw the football, my arm would click, and they kept telling me it was in my head. It was
Mm.
actually in my shoulder. Finally, my parents took me to see another doctor. Actually, took me to see a chiropractor, and he put my shoulder back in place.
Mm.
And dramatically, it turned me around. But in the meantime, my high school coach was one of those guys that I didn't perform for him at the time for being hurt.
Mhm.
So he called a couple of the universities that were interested in me. One was Clemson, one was Florida State, and told them I was damaged goods, and I wasn't good enough material for them. So any scholarship offers I had from schools like that were gone.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I know all about that, man. Growing up in Chicago, and wasn't no such thing as getting hurt.
No,
You
no,
you get your butt
no.
back out there.
No, no, that's you did not take any time off. You lived with the bumps and bruises, and also you got your bell rung. You remember that? You got your
Yeah,
bell rung and you saw some stars, and now it's a very different protocol, but at that time it was, hey, how many fingers? Yeah, you're good. Get in there,
that
right?
was it. Yeah, I just told somebody about that the last week. Actually, played one of the roughest football games ever. I know I had at least 3 concussions, but it was like, get out there, get you a drink of water, get your butt back out there, and my head is just ringing, and I know I had concussions, but there was no protocol. It was just get
No,
back out there.
no. And it wasn't like you were going to tell your parents or anything like that. The coach or the teacher that was they were the boss. And like you said, get back out there, strap it back on and let's go.
That's it. So, how did you get the opportunity to play at Wilkes? Is that what it's called? Your college?
Yes, yeah, Wilkes University. I actually I had the opportunity to play in a Legion All-Star game.
Mhm.
And how I got that opportunity, believe it or not, was I didn't get picked initially. And I was really disappointed in that. And one afternoon, I got a phone call that the guy who got picked in front of me got caught shoplifting
Wow.
and was basically being prosecuted. So they asked me if I wanted to play. So I went to the All-Star game. I started out as a pitcher. I struck 6 out of 7 guys out and hit a triple. And Wilkes, the coach from Wilkes, was there and basically just followed me all the way all over,
Wow.
and said he could give me an opportunity to get a great education and I could play 2 sports. So that's how I ended up there. So thank God that he was there, but it was the right time. But again, you talk about an opportunity. I was lucky to get that opportunity.
That's awesome. Congratulations for making the Hall of Fame there as well. Talk about that.
Thank you. Yes, it was. I had to. It was. I really enjoyed that. I got a chance to spend a great deal of time with my former teammates from football and baseball. But my career there was one of those careers that things fell together. I was in the lineup as a freshman, got an opportunity again to pitch out of a jam and did a really good job, and it just kept building year after year. So it was a lot of fun. The people who voted me in, actually, when I got the call, I was in Florida and I
Mhm.
was doing a Special Olympics event, and I had athletes from 4 states, and I was walking off the field and my phone rang twice, and I don't normally answer it when I'm with my athletes, but I thought, I better pick this up, and it was one of the committee members telling me that I was voted into the Hall of Fame. So I was very excited about that. And one of my athletes said, "Hey, coach, who's that guy?" And I said, "Oh, it's one of the people from where I went to, college," and told me I was in the Hall of Fame. But he said, "Coach, you're already in the Hall of Fame. You're in the Cooperstown Hall of Fame." And he said, "You know why? Because of us. That's why." And I
That's
said,
awesome.
"You're right. You are right." He said, "Well, you know what? If you hang around with us longer, you may get into a few more Hall of Fames before it's over."
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you finish your career there, and you said you go over to France and play
Yeah, Italy. Went to
Italy.
Italy. Yeah, yeah. I was. I thought I was going to be drafted by the Baltimore Orioles. They had a scout who basically followed me my last 2 years, and I decided before my senior year to actually. I had an opportunity to actually sign with the Tigers and turned it down. And I went back to school and I thought, wow, this is great. I think I'm going to be a Baltimore Oriole. And I was really looking forward to that. And for whatever reason, I wasn't drafted.
Wow.
But there was a scout there from the Italian league that would come to watch us practice and handed me his card and said, "If you want an opportunity to play, we'd love to have you." So I made a phone call, which was awkward because he only spoke broken English, and I spoke broken Italian, and the only Italian words I knew were curse words, so that didn't help very much. So I ended up getting an opportunity to go to Italy and play, and that was at age 21, and an incredible country, incredible people. First time I traveled overseas, so I went from being a boy who thought he was a man to becoming a real man and becoming a professional.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was that transition like? So what do you feel like turned you from a boy into a man being over there in Italy? Hey, it's the publisher here, Mr. Kelly Cole. Listen, if you are a former professional athlete, if you are a former college athlete or sports coach, and you're looking to launch your speaking career, let me tell you, you need a book. If you're already out there speaking and you want to track more high-paid speaking engagements, you need a book. It's not about creating more content to post on social media. It's not about recording a bunch of videos. It's not about doing more podcasts. The number one secret to attracting more high-paid speaking engagements or even launching your speaking career is a book. Hey, I'm the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole, and I help former athletes and sports coaches create best-selling books in 30 days to launch their speaking career, even if they hate writing and don't know where to start. So for the first time ever, I've created a free case study video that will not only show you how to write a book from scratch in as little as 30 days and become a best-selling author, it will also show you how to attract more high-paid speaking engagements. Now, to check out this free case study video, click the link that says learn more or go to booksforathletes.com. Real quick before you go, do not go if you're not a former athlete or sports coach, because you won't find any value in what I'm about to share. And don't go if your book is already out and already on Amazon. You won't find any value in what I share over there. But if you are a former athlete or sports coach, know that you need a book, or already out there speaking and you want to launch your speaking career, go check out that link now. Writing a book is not as hard as you think. It doesn't even matter if you don't know where to start. My case study video will show you how to start and get it done and onto the bestsellers list. So go now.
I think taking on the responsibility of being a professional athlete, and part of my contract was to help out with clinics for the youth, do some events in the town that we lived in, just spend time with people in the town, because you're basically one of the few Americans in the town. So it was really a goodwill, but I also learned that people were watching everything that I did, and my actions had to speak even more than my words.
Yeah.
So that maturity came pretty quick, and people looked up to you as an athlete, as a professional, and I wanted to honor that. So that's really where that transition came. And I was still a kid at heart, but I had to really grow up pretty quickly and accept the responsibility and also being a role model,
Mhm.
which turned things around very quickly.
Gotcha. So where did your career go from there?
Well, I actually was rookie of the year there for their team, and I in Italy you didn't have an agent, so the negotiation was you sat down with the owner of the club, and
Mm.
sitting down with the owner of the club was like you and I are talking right now, but we're sitting across a desk from one another, and my teammates warned me of what it was going to be like. That it's intense, and you're sitting in his office and it's just the two of you,
Mhm.
and he's reading all the things you did wrong throughout the season. So I
Right.
had to counter with all the positive things I did, and I had an envelope in my pocket from the Orioles. Well, there was nothing in the envelope. It was just a correspondence with the Orioles at the time. And I said, well, if you don't want me, they want me. And I put it back in my pocket. So that I pulled out my that was my move right there.
Right.
And it worked. He offered me the opportunity to come back and more money, but I really wanted to come back to the States and get a chance to play.
So how did you get that chance? What happened? How did you get that chance to play in the MLB?
When I flew back home, I had a few scouts that were keeping in touch with me while I was in Italy. So I had some private workouts. I had workouts with the Atlanta Braves, New York Mets, and out of the blue, I got a call from the Boston Red Sox, and basically saying, "Look, we have a contract for you. If we come to your house, will you sign it?" And I said, "Absolutely." That was the other two were kind of going back and forth, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen, so I took basically the bird in hand, and that bird was up in Boston, and because people asked me if I had a preference, and to be honest with you, Kelly, I didn't. I just wanted to play.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So did you end up playing? How long was your career at Boston?
I was there throughout for 3 years, but I was an injury cut my career short. So I was in an automobile accident, and that curtailed everything. I damaged my left leg in an accident. I was hit behind by a drunk driver,
Wow.
and my life changed within a few seconds of thinking about my goals as a player and how I was going to take care of my family and friends, and I had this whole plan in my head, and like that was gone, and took me well over a year, almost a year and a half, to learn how to walk again, and surgery and things like that. So I went from up here all the way down. So that was a very humbling experience, but also a life-changing experience for me.
Tell us about the emotional burden I'm sure that caused on you. Like, what was your mindset at that point?
My mindset was I was extremely depressed. I was angry. Um, didn't didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Didn't really like myself at that point. I felt like a complete failure. I just couldn't get out of my own way. And my parents were not educated people, but stressed my sister and I to continue on with an education. And my father kept pushing me, even when I came back from Italy, to go back and get a master's degree. And I didn't want to be bothered with that. I didn't think I needed that. I was gonna, be a star and make a lot of money and take care of everybody. And thank God I did go back to school. But even that was really a rough transition. At times, the depression. I wasn't suicidal, but I was to a point where I couldn't keep relationships together. I was a loner. Like I said, really didn't like myself for a long time.
What pulled you out? So what pulled you out of that dark place?
Working actually in a psychiatric hospital scared me. Talk about scared straight. I got
Mhm.
I I got scared straight working with people who were put into the quiet or the rubber room. There were some criminally insane there for periods of time, and got to see like the other side of really how life can be. And I worked in some time on a drug and alcohol unit, and thought if I continued to go down that road and continue to drink and continue to mess around with other substances, it was going to be a problem.
Yo, what up? It's your girl JC, and listen, I have to send a special shout out to my guy, Mr. Kelly Cole, and the entire team at Publishing Advantage Group and Books for Athletes. They took so great care of me to the point that I know I'm the pickiest person. This book was supposed to have been finished last summer. However, there were some details that I needed to make sure that the book had because my audience needed it. And, when it comes down to feeding and serving the people, especially as a former athlete, and telling your story, you cannot be selfish with the material and give it away. And they worked with me from the time of my thought process to the time of conception, all the way down to now, top 20 hot release best-selling author on Amazon in 24 hours. Listen, if you're an athlete, you have a story to tell, and you don't know how to put it in book form just yet, don't worry, you're not alone, okay? Hit my guy, Mr. Kelly Cole, and tell him what you're trying to do, and I promise you he gonna get you right, all right? And of course, check me out on Amazon after the season. Shout out to the Books for Athletes family.
And I could see that path going down. So just from kind of taking a step back and looking at these people and learning, saying, hey, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be one of those guys everybody said, hey, he's a good guy, but he's a mess now. Nobody knows what he's doing. He never did anything with his life. So that kind of voice in my head started to really change what I needed to do and kind of get myself together. I got some professional help. My family was great. They were behind me 100%. So it was it took some time. It really took some time, but like I said, being scared by what I was seeing in front of me and thinking that I could go down that road.
Good, that's good. So when did you start working with, those with disabilities, and where did that heart to serve those come from? Where did that come from?
Well, it actually started when I was growing up. There were a few kids in my neighborhood who were in special ed, and at that time, quote unquote, used the word retarded. Mm-hmm. And that's a word that obviously isn't used and shouldn't be used. But I was very protective of those kids in the neighborhood. Kids wouldn't pick them for sports we were playing, but I was like their protector. I would pick them, and they were just like some of the nicest people, and they just wanted to be left alone and do their thing. So it really started then. But working in a hospital and working with people with all kinds of issues started to help. I did a rotation in a high school in Allentown where I worked with a group of severely disabled young people who were trying to get their high school degree. And I worked with a woman who actually was an ex-nun and got me an incredible amount about working with people with disabilities. And in the book, I go through some detail with it. And she was absolutely amazing. You talk about angels in your life. She was definitely an angel. She kind of walked me through it, hands-on with these people. People joke about the little yellow bus. Well, the bus driver actually got hurt, and guess who became the bus driver? Me.
Right.
So, but what I did was I got to know the students so well that I would load them onto the bus and take them back to the facility where they were living, a place called the Good Shepherd Home, and we'd be in the van singing and pulling up to people on a red light and waving to them, and we would laugh. We had a great time. And that's really where that connection started to grow, and thinking these are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and I never would have the opportunity to meet them if I didn't take this rotation and start to work with them. So there was something there inside of me that it got my heart, it just touched me, and that kind of grew from there.
Got you. So when did you teaching them baseball and becoming a coach? Where did that come into play?
That didn't come about until I was married and had my own kids, and I had my own facility at that point, and it was a rehab, basically a wellness center. And one of the people I worked with said, you know what, I'm going to Special Olympics New Jersey as a volunteer. And they brought up something while I was there that I think you would be perfect for. They want to start baseball. They've never had baseball in Special Olympics. So I went into Special Olympics New Jersey, and I live in Pennsylvania, so it's right across the river. And I met a gentleman named Mark Edenson, who had this vision of working, giving an opportunity to athletes who've worn a baseball hat all their life and never had a chance to play. So really, Kelly, he had me at the hat. Once he said that, he said, look, you wear a hat every day of your life in some way, baseball hat, whatever. These guys do too. You've had a chance to play. They've never had that chance. We need to change that. So we started out, and that was the 45th year history of Special Olympics. Baseball was never played. They never thought these athletes could play the game of baseball because it's too fast, it's too, whatever. There were all these reasons why they can't. We started out with open clinics, and the first clinic I did had 90 people.
Wow.
And it was from kids to people in their 70s. It was chaos, total chaos.
Wow.
I came home and I thought, what am I doing? This is crazy. I'm never going to be able to pull this off. This is just like a madhouse. Well, kept going back. I started taking some of my high school athletes with me that I was coaching, and started to have some kind of process, build some of the skills into it. And I started in 2011, 2014 with the USA Games, which is like the Olympics for Special Olympics. USA Games were in New Jersey, and baseball was an exhibition sport. So there were 4 states involved: New Jersey, Delaware, Rhode Island, and Alabama. And I coached Team New Jersey, and we played a couple of preliminary games and ended up playing in the gold medal game in Trenton at Trenton Thunder Stadium versus Rhode Island. And we ended up winning that game 6-2. So we won the first ever gold medal in the history of Special Olympics. I had 19 athletes on my roster, all 19 batted. And obviously we only had 9 in the field, but our pitchers pitched, our catchers caught. There were 2 spotters behind the catchers to help speed up the game. But other than that, it was at regular baseball, play with wood bats, regular baseball. Because people ask me that all the time. Well, is it real baseball? And yeah, it really is. I mean, you're playing on a real field, and these guys can play. If I were to send you the film, and I've given some talks over the years, people say, "Hey, is that your high school team?" I'll say, "No, those are Special Olympic athletes."
Wow.
And the look on their faces is like, well, I really? And like, yeah, it's so that's the mission that I've been on since that time, is basically taking that across the country. I was named chairman of baseball development for North America for Special Olympics a few years ago. And again, it's a volunteer position, but I have this basically this drive because the guys I've worked with have become part of my family. And in fact, one of them wrote a testimony for my book. And just the relationship and the interaction over the years have helped them with different things in their life, and have taken them out, have helped them with relationships, with jobs. And what bond we had was starting with baseball. So I know there's more athletes, Kelly, out there across the United States, Canada, the Caribbean, who love the game, and we just have to get them the opportunity.
That's it, man. Perfect segue to the topic. I mean, the title of your book. But real quick, what do you wish people knew about working with those, with special needs or disabilities?
What I wish people knew is that they're no different than you and I. They were born with something that people quote unquote label as a disability, but they still have a heart, still have a brain. They still care about people. They still love like you and I love. They want to be loved. They want an opportunity. Their approach or the comprehension may not be as quick as other people, but the desire is there. But you need to take the time to get to know them and spend the time with them. If you do that, it will change your life also. I can guarantee that.
That's awesome. All right. So tell them the title of the book and where would you like them to get a copy of the book?
Sure. Title of the book is Just Need an Opportunity. The subtitle is Let's Play Ball, and it can be bought on Amazon. I have a website, justneedanopportunity.com. I saw just recently it was listed on barnesandnoble.com, so it's available throughout the major outlets. But yes, I wish people would take the time to read it, and it's pretty much a lot of things that you and I talked about, the interaction throughout my life, and how I basically didn't realize how much it affected me until later on in life, until I was long into my adulthood, that my mission in life was really to be a part of this and to help be a guide to help other people get this opportunity.
That's awesome. What was it like working with Books for Athletes?
It was an excellent experience in my life. Again, you talk about life-changing, meeting you and Dr. Reed at the Sneaker Gala in Philadelphia, and having an opportunity to meet you in person and talk a little bit about it. And you basically saying, look, you have a great story here. Would you like to tell it? And I did, but I didn't have the confidence at the time. And after speaking with you and then working with Dr. Reed and as a writing coach, basically everything came together. And I would strongly suggest to any college pro athlete out there and anybody in general that you have a story to tell. And your group was great to work with, responsive, professional, and we're there. So it felt like we've known each other a lot longer than we have, but it was just that you just made me feel very comfortable and confident that I could do this. So again, great organization. You were great to work with and to continue to, even when I reach out to you now. I mean, you respond right back to me. I don't think there's many companies that can say that in this day and age. I think people will say it, but I don't know if they'll actually do it.
Right.
Actually, you walk the walk, right? That's a difference.
I appreciate it. What was it like to hold it in your hand for the first time?
Oh man, I had tears in my eyes. So, there's different things in your life that change your life. Having your children, being a professional athlete, and then holding that book in your hand and looking at it going, wow, this is after those months and months of work and going back and forth, and it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
And now I have people saying, hey, I got your book. My daughter came home and said, Dad, they got people, she's a lifeguard, people at the pool reading your book.
Wow.
I was like, wow, okay. That's cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good stuff. So any final words you want to leave the people with before I let you out of here? But this has been great, man. Thank you so much for doing this tonight.
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to get the word out that people really need to look at, instead of looking at people from a distance, if they are different than you are, bring them closer, bring them into your world. It's worth it.
Just give them the opportunity to be a human being, right?
That's all they want too. I can tell you that firsthand.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, Coach. Looking forward to
Thank
your
you.
book signing whenever it is. Like I said, I will be in the building, schedule permitting. But man, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. And as you can see from how we've carried ourselves, we're family for life. Once you join our family, we're family for life.
Absolutely. No doubt in my mind about that.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, man. Have a great night.
Thank you. You also. Appreciate it.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Books for Athletes podcast. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and leaving us reviews. And be sure, if you're interested and you want to get your book done, make sure you check out our free case study video at www.booksforathletes.com. Also, if you'd like for me to come to speak to your students or you're having an event and you need a speaker, I would love to be a part of it. Just shoot me an email at booksforathletes.com. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode.